All right, welcome back. Thanks for joining. Today we're going to cover food dehydration and really just different types of food you could bring on an excursion, camping, night out, whatever. And the common ones as well. Like there's usually options of fresh food. There's this stuff, classic Mountain House, freeze dried. There's your trusty MRE. And I've had them all on overnight excursions, on expeditions like over a week, and I've brought all three along sometimes. But today we're going to talk specifically about dehydration because I found this one to be the go-to and the most versatile. So I'll even bring us through my process for dehydrating things, some recipe stuff, and how I package it up and get it going. First, we're going to go to this slide deck. Let's do that. All right. Yeah, so the main food options when you are going camping are the most common one, and when I first started camping was bringing fresh food. This is one of your better ones and more fun ones. Of course, it's hard to bring a week's worth of fresh food. Very quickly, you find that this is too heavy, some things are starting to go bad, and as soon as you get up to like your 2-3 day excursions, you start where I find most people, they jump straight to freeze-dried. This is what we did. Freeze-dried was really cool in that you're like, hey, this stuff lasts forever. You add in some hot water, you're ready to go. But very quickly, costs start to add up a little bit. You find it's kind of salty, and you start looking into other things. There's dehydration. For me, when I first started camping, dehydration was like, oh, I don't even know how that stuff works. How does it come back? How do you make dehydrated food? And I started looking into more MREs. As MREs, as anybody who's tried them, you know, they come moisture ready. You just got to warm them up and eat them, and they're pretty cool. But again, costs start coming in. When you're camping often, you're going out for week-long excursions, these things can add up. And so there's some pros and cons to this, which I'll jump into now. So when you're deciding on a particular type of food you're going to bring, none are bad. Right? They're all great, but they all definitely have their different use cases. And so I've lined some pros and cons out here. So with fresh food, it's really good in that it's good value. You buy supermarket rates. You can get a meal down to like $2-3. Like if you get like a very simple chili, it's really cheap per serving. It can be healthy depending on what you decide to bring. Like if you bring a bunch of junk food, sure, it's not going to be good for you. But if you make, again, like a nice chili, that's pretty good for you. And again, it's really versatile. Depending on your diet, what you're doing, how long you're going for, you might want more fatty, calorie-dense stuff. If you want, if you're going out for 2-3 days, you might just want some different stuff and have more fun with it. Now, the bad things about fresh food is, of course, it's big. You've got to carry this stuff. It takes a lot of volume. It's heavy, right? Like all the water and moisture is in that food. It is slow. You got to prep it and cook it. It takes time. And if you're coming in on a cold, rainy day, sometimes you don't want to sit down outside and cut up all your food and prep it over your cook set. And of course, short life, right? This stuff will, depending if you have meats and depending on how you prep them, it's only going to last you a day or two before that starts going bad, especially with certain other meats. With MREs are really fun. You know, they're fast. You could open it up and eat them cold if you need to, like with the snacks. They have a long life, right? Officially, there's like 5+ years if you store them well. But if you store them really well, and we've seen on YouTube, people are eating 20-year-old MREs. So they really do last a long time. And they're really fun. Like when you're hungry and you get to rip open MRE, have those snacks, drink the fruit powder, that's a really fun thing to do. I always enjoy, and I still have MREs around for that reason. But they're bad value. Nowadays, like if you're in the US, sometimes you can get these things for like $10, right? A serving, maybe less. In Canada, you're paying like $30 a serving, right? To get one of these things, these are older. I got these for like 20 Canadian each because I bought them in bulk a while ago. These are like 3 or 4 years old now. But to buy these fresh from like an MRE company, $30 a serving. That's a lot for a meal. So again, they're big, they're heavy, right? They're pretty unhealthy. Like, don't fool yourself. These are not nice healthy meals, right? Even when you're eating like a more veggie one, you're eating a pretty salty MRE that helps preserve its life. Give me a sec here. I have some water boiling here on my cook set. I'm going to turn it off. Awesome. All right. And it's unversatile in a way of you don't quite get to choose what MRE you get. Sure, there's these variety sets and there's a pretty okay array of menu, but if one day you're just feeling like something unique, or you're just not feeling dairy, or you're not feeling whatever, or you want extra meat, it's hard to add that stuff in unless you supplement it somehow and then add it into the package. So they're not too versatile. Another thing is availability. These aren't in your corner store for most places in Canada. In the US, maybe you have a bit more availability for MRE, but here they're not that available. Dehydrated, which is I'm going to be really promoting today, is it's fast. I'm going to be rehydrating a meal in a few minutes on camera for you guys. It takes like about 12 minutes to get going, so not too long at all. Moderate life, 6 to 12 months, depending on how you dehydrate it and how you store it. Now, it can go way longer, and I've done that. Like I've done my dehydrated meals when I've vac sealed them, put an oxygen absorber, and it was like a lower fat meal. It's lasted a year where I've eaten it. But typically, you're only saving these for maybe a couple weeks or a couple months. Really good value. You're paying supermarket rates for this stuff, right? You just got to prep the food, and you're probably getting a dehydrated meal for, I don't know, $2-3 a serving, which is awesome. 1/10 the cost of an MRE, right? It's healthy. Again, I put an asterisk there because it just depends on how you prepare this food and what type of food you choose. Super versatile. It's as versatile as fresh food for the most part. Some things, which we'll get into, don't dehydrate or rehydrate well as other foods, but for the most part, some of your favorite meals do rehydrate pretty well, like your rices, your pastas, your things in sauces. Beef comes back almost perfectly. Chicken, a little less so, but generally it comes back rather well. And it's light, right? It's definitely lighter than MRE, and it's definitely lighter than fresh food. Not quite as light as freeze-dried. Some of the bad parts about dehydrated food you'll see is like it takes a lot of preparation. You got to cook pretty much a meal, then you got to dehydrate it, which can take a day or two depending on how many servings you need, and you need a dehydrator, right? This will cost you anywhere from $100 to $1,000 depending on the dehydrator you need. The one I use cost me $80 on Amazon. It might cost you a little different, but you just need a very basic dehydrator. Finally, the last one is freeze-dried. It's really fast, right? As fast as dehydrated. Usually you're just boiling something for like 12 minutes. Of course, what's famous for, it's got a long shelf life, 50 plus years, right? It's very light and it's moderately versatile. Now I say moderately versatile in that freeze-dried meals are really popular with hikers. You'll find them at REI, MEC. You find them Canadian Tire, and there's a lot of varieties now, right? And so you could find almost anything to fit your diet. I only say moderately versatile, again, because nothing's as versatile as making your own food. You can make it specifically just the way you want. The bad is it's very bad value, right? These things can cost $20 to $30 a serving as well, and you're getting, I don't know, maybe 500 to 800 calories off of it, sometimes less, right? I've never gotten full off a freeze-dried meal, personally. They are pretty unhealthy. A lot of them do have a lot of salt. They don't have a lot of good healthy fats or anything. That stuff's been kind of removed to help with the preservation process. Again, there's a lot of variety nowadays, so there are some healthier ones coming around. And if anybody's ever had Mountain House for a week straight, you know exactly what this last bullet is about. You can get some gnarly Mountain House farts. It messes with your gut eventually. I really think it's just all the sodium that's in these things where, you just don't want to eat them after a while. So that's some of the ups and downs of each one. Now, dehydrated food, before I bring us back to the camera. I'll bring you guys first through recipes. So, all right, recipes. Go to YouTube. You'll find tons of awesome recipes. There's lots of resources. There are books. on this stuff. You can go on the internet, websites on what recipes you can make that dehydrate well, and they'll even give you some rule of thumbs of how to rehydrate them. Today we're going to be talking about something I made. Let me go to second cam here. Hamburger soup. Right, I'll put this recipe as well in the details, but it's really just like a beef. There's some tomato base, diced tomatoes, tomato soup in there, and it's kind of like a meat sauce for a pasta. It's just a little more soupy, and you just drink that. This stuff is my go-to when I do dehydrated food, and it comes back really well, right? And I'll show you that actually right now. So in this, I'll give you a look at this right now. This is a kind of a small serving. This is 350 grams of hamburger soup. I've already dehydrated this to show you guys what it turns into. This is it. It's a regular basic one off Amazon. I got it for 80 bucks. Nowadays they're probably around like 100. And I dehydrated this for, I think, yeah, about 10 hours. So, and it came out just like this. Fuck. All right. I'm back. Ugh. Right, all right, and it came back out just like this. So it really going from this, which is like a small kind of lunch serving, so usually you might double this size, to this, right? And that's kind of the outcome. Now, for portioning, the best way to kind of portion this stuff is think about what you would normally eat when you're hiking. Get like a bowl, just like this, or even like a dinner bowl, and serve yourself what you think I would eat after a day of hiking. Usually for me, it's like 2 to 3 times this amount. And that's how you know that's one meal, right? You just tray it up. Usually you're trying to make sure things in your food are smaller chunks so they dehydrate well. Here's like a bad example. Here I have like a big chunk of beef. Beef tends to dehydrate rather well, so I'm not too worried about this, and I'm only keeping this for like a day, so I don't worry about it. But if I was going for like a week long or longer, I'd make sure to have much smaller chunks just so they dehydrate better, right? But you'll notice all the sauce pretty much just disappears. Now I did just drop this, so some of the flakes are missing, but this stuff like this, with pasta, spaghetti, diced up lasagna, dehydrates really well and reconstitutes really well. All right. So, like I said, this is 350 grams. Let's see what this reduced to on the scale. All right. Here we are. So what do we got? Should have like a 0. There you go. Let's get this in here. Again, I lost some, so it's probably usually a bit heavier than what I'm going to show here, but you guys will get the idea. And what is that? 54 grams. So it went from 350 grams all the way to 54. So like 1/6, which is 1/7, which is pretty awesome of it. So what I would do is to kind of bring this back is I'd probably just bring this back at the 350 grams with water, right? So add back in, what is that, about 300 grams of water to this, right? And then you just boil. A general rule of thumb, like you're not gonna have a scale with you, is you're usually just kind of covering the surface of this with some water, and you're boiling it, and then you're letting it stand. You'll let it boil for like 3 minutes, and then you'll warm for like 10. So I'm gonna do that right now and kind of just bring this back. I've already have kind of some warm water here I've been cooking with. There you go. And I'm gonna bring this back to about 350 grams, and we'll see if that rule of thumb works out. To 200, do I have enough water here? I think I do. Yeah, I will. 300. It's a hamburger soup, so if you're like a little over or under, it's just more or less soupy. Cool, about 347, that's perfect. All right, while I'm going through some other stuff, I'll get this cooking again. I have my Pathfinder mess kit here, which is pretty awesome. All right, let's get that burning. So, let me get this on camera cooking. Yeah, that's good. Awesome. I'll do a review on this cook kit too. It's pretty fun. thing's cooking. I could probably put it out now it's boiling. That's hot. I left it on the wrong side where the fire's coming out the back here, so it's kind of burnt myself. What I can do is do it from the sides. Yeah. Nice. All right, I'm back. It's been like 5, 6, 7 minutes, whatever. It's good, close enough. This stuff came back a bit more watery than I'd like. I think I didn't follow my rule of thumb. Adding back the same amount of water, I probably should have just added a bit less. But it's still edible. And that's the thing with this stuff when you're rehydrating things. You know, if it's a little more watery, at the end of the day when you're starving, it's no big deal. If it's a little under, not a huge deal. You have a lot of room for error here. So here's the original, right? And here's your rehydrated, where this stuff did come out a touch more watery, right? But it's good. Came back. Beef is good. I'll just zoom in and let you guys look at this close up. Right? Comes back rather well. So that's awesome. And this is just like a, you know, if this was twice the size, this would be like a hefty, good 600-700 calorie meal, right? For a couple bucks. And you're eating this every day. Hamburger soup. It's awesome. Mm. Yeah, man. Tastes great. Tastes like it was never even dehydrated. So yeah, definitely look up some recipes online. Get yourself a dehydrator. It's only $100 and start messing with your meals. Get rid of those freeze-dried junk. You know what I mean? It is a total ripoff. It does have a time and place, but most of the time for most people, I'd say like 99% of people out there, you should be just dehydrating your meals. All right, that's it for me. Thanks for joining, guys. Take it easy.